Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this special presentation from the IGDA regarding about online harassment, trolls, and bullying, about how to better protect yourself online. My name is Kate Edwards. I'm the Executive Director of the IGDA, and I'm really pleased to be here to present this and to introduce Jayne Hitchcock, who is an expert on cyberbullying and cybercrime. We are very fortunate to have her with us today to discuss the topic, which I know has been on the minds of all of us over the last couple of months. It's a very important topic. It's obviously critical not only during the time that we've gone through in the last couple of months, but always. And I think it's always going to be a relevant issue for us. And so with that, I would like to introduce Jayne, and I will give the floor to her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me. What I'm going to do is start off talking about my organization and basically how I got started in all this. And we have two organizations. I have Working to Halt Online Abuse in our Kids and Teen Division, and WHOA, which is short for Working to Halt Online Abuse, obviously, was actually founded back in February of 1997 because in the late 1996 I was stalked online, and cyberstalking hadn't even been coined yet. I kind of became the poster child for it because of what happened to me. It started on news groups and escalated to the point where the people that were stalking me online began posting as me in hundreds of controversial and sex-related news groups saying that I was into sadomasochistic sex and inviting people to come by my house any time of the day or night or call me, and listed my home phone number, my home address. And when I called local police, they had no idea what a news group was. The internet was still so new back then that I had to go to online friends and figure out who was doing it to me. There were no laws in place. I helped start getting laws passed. I lived in Maryland at the time, and that was the first state in the country to pass an email harassment law. And eventually took the two people that it turned out to be, it was a husband and wife team, took them to civil court, and then in 1999, I believe it was December of 1999, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service got involved because I was trying to help fellow writers get back money from a scam literary agency, and since the majority of the payments to this literary agency have been made through the postal mail, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service actually went and arrested them in January of 2000, and it took me 10 years to get justice. The husband got basically a slap on the wrist. He got 9 months in jail and 3 years probation, only because that was the maximum sentence the judge could give him, and the wife, at the time that they finally were sentenced, was in ailing health, and she ended up getting 3 years probation. So by the time he served his sentence and his probation ended, it was 2006. So it took me 10 years. And that's what prompted me to co-found WHOA back in 1997. And back then we actually called it Women Halting Online Abuse, because the majority of victims that came to us at that time were a woman, and that's how we started it all. We help victims 18 and over worldwide. The internet is international, so we can't just say we only help people in the U.S. We have to be able to help people anywhere online, and at the time it was just adults 18 and over because that was the majority of people who were on the internet back then. In June of 1999, the woman who co-founded the organization with me stepped down. She is now a very successful lawyer in New Jersey, and so I became president and kind of took over. And at that time we saw men coming to us for help, but they were hesitant because of the name of the organization, Women Halting Online Abuse. So we changed it to Working to Halt Online Abuse, kept the acronym, and went from there. In September of 2005, we started getting more requests from younger people and from parents and teachers. Can you help younger students, especially high school students? So we formed the Kids and Teen Division, and that is a separate website. Our main website is at haltabuse.org, and then the Kids and Teen Division is at haltabusektd.org, and we help the people under the age of 18 on that website. So we help everybody now. Since then, we started off with a staff of 6. We are all volunteer. I'm a volunteer. And now we have over 30, and our volunteers are also all over the world. We have them in India, Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, all over the USA. And again, like I said, the internet is international, so you can't confine it just to U.S.-based people or U.S.-based cases. And we help people for free. That's what we do best. And it's been really interesting because I've gotten to know my staff via email and Facebook and other means online. I've only met, I'm counting on my fingers now, 1, 2, 3. I've only met 3 in person the entire time that we've had our organization. So it just shows how good you can connect online with the right people. So talking about it, everyone asked me, well, what is online harassment and cyberstalking? And the whole thing is people have to realize if somebody simply disagrees with you, it might be very strong, you might not like it. It's not usually considered harassment. Someone who sends a single email message, unless it's overtly threatening, it probably is not harassment. Harassment involves repeated communications online after the harasser has clearly been told to go away. Cyberbullying is basically cyberstalking. This is when the media decides to hype things, and they decide that because these are like middle and high school students that we're going to call it cyberbullying. And it's basically the same thing. It's repeated online communications. The Department of Justice further defines cyberstalking as the use of the internet, email, or other electronic communications devices to stalk another person. Stalking generally involves harassing or threatening behavior that an individual engages in repeatedly. And it's that repeatedly that is so important. It can't be just one message, one post, one tweet, or anything like that. It has to be repeated. We have calculated statistics since 2000. We do this every year, and that should actually be 2013. I got a little overzealous, I guess, when I was doing my presentation. And these were from last year. And what we do, and we have, all the stats from 2000 up to now. We also have combined statistics just to show over the years how everything has changed. We get up to 75 reports each week. Sometimes we get more, sometimes we get less, and quite honestly, if it's a holiday weekend, it's a full moon, believe me, we see a lot of cases. And I don't know, I've heard scientists say, well, the full moon has nothing to do with anything. You can talk to any law enforcement officer, and they have the same problem we do. Of those, 90 to 95% are legitimate, meaning that we do get people that fill out the questionnaire for help when it turns out it's just spam. It's one of those Nigerian scams. Microsoft contacted me saying I had a virus on my computer or something like that. So we kind of weed those out and point them in the right direction for what they need help with, and try to concentrate on the people who are really being harassed and stalked online. We actually resolve over 70% of the cases we receive without involving law enforcement, without involving lawyers, private investigators, or anyone else. And that just shows how taking some steps to protect yourself online, you can actually probably resolve it yourself before having to come to us, but we are there if you can't get it taken care of. And statistics are based on victims who completely filled out the questionnaire. We have voluntary questions such as gender, age, race, if they're married or not, etc. And if they don't fill out that information, we don't use it in our statistics. We try and keep it so that we get definite statistics so that they are pretty much on the money. In 2013, 256 cases filled out the questionnaire completely, so we use those for our statistics. And we found that each year, every year since 2000, no matter where the person encountered their harasser stalker, the primary way that they were actually harassed online began via email, which has been very interesting. I'm interested to see how, or if it changes this year, as far as, with the proliferation of social media and Facebook and Twitter and Yik Yak and all these apps and everything, if that's going to change. This was followed by Facebook, websites, instant messaging, and message boards, which was the same as the year before in 2012. But we saw an increase in how the harassment actually escalated with Facebook, either wall posts or messages or profiles actually forged in the victim's names, followed by telephone or cell phone calls, texting, then Twitter, and Google+, which was a surprise to us because we had seen nothing from Google+ previously. Just over 70% of the cases showed the harasser and victim were not in the same state or country, whereas only 40% of those were in 2012. So we saw a big increase in that, which was kind of shocking. Female harassers actually increased. When we first started calculating statistics, the majority of victims were women, the majority of harassers were men, and as years have gone by, we've seen women still are the majority of victims, but we've seen more men coming to us for help. But last year, for some reason, it was very close to being the same as far as harassers being males and females, and the remainder are unknown, anonymous. Female victims are still higher than males, like I said, although male victims jumped from 20% to 40% last year. Just over half of them had a previous relationship with their harasser compared to 2012, when almost 65% are previous relationship. This is usually an ex, followed by online friends, work-related, family, offline friends, or a neighbor, which kind of blows my mind. California had the most harassers and victims, followed by Florida, Texas, and New York. That just gives you kind of an idea, and you can get more statistics on our website at haltabuse.org. So why do people do it? I get asked this all the time. Most of them think they're anonymous, they can get away with it. They'll create a false profile, a false account, they'll get free email, through Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, somewhere else, and they think if they use those that it can't be traced back to them. They feel they can hide behind the First Amendment and freedom of speech. It's a new medium to harass, stalk, and scam people, because we found that as technology progresses, so do the scammers and stalkers. And they seem to be the ones that catch on to it faster than law enforcement and than regular users for some reason, especially the scam artists. But when they're caught, and when I do my law enforcement presentations, I see a lot of nodding heads of, police officers. It's always when they're caught. I never meant to hurt anyone. I didn't mean for it to go that far. The victim is harassing or stalking me, and I actually had that happen. One of the defendants filed a countersuit against me claiming I was cyber stalking him, which was interesting. And they don't want to face the consequences. All 50 states, a lot of countries now have cyber stalking, cyberbullying laws, whatever you want to call it, and the first offense is usually a misdemeanor with the second offense being a felony. And when they're caught and they're facing a criminal record, they usually are very remorseful. So who are they? They're usually not computer experts or hackers or net savvy. I mean, I'm talking about cases that we receive. I'm not talking in general, but they know just enough, to be bad people online. They're mostly white collar. They don't have criminal records. I sometimes call it a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde syndrome during the day. They could be doctors, lawyers, the kid bagging your groceries, working at the gas station, your neighbor, whoever, and then they get online and they just completely turn into a different personality. And then where half of the cases we get are victims who did know or do know the person stalking them, the other half are complete stranger and stranger situations, and I liken it to when you're driving down the highway and you see somebody else chasing somebody in their car and it's a road rage incident. Well, on the information superhighway, I call it internet road rage, where somebody writes a post, makes a comment, posts a photo or that somebody just doesn't like for whatever reason, all of a sudden they just go off on them. They're clever, but they're not smart. Now in my case, it was this so-called litter agency. They originally started posting messages on news groups looking for new writers, and that's what kind of tripped them up, you know, when people started questioning what they were going to do, and then there was the investigation. And then they began forging messages in my name. Well, when they went back to posting messages looking for authors again, what they forgot to do was change the from line to the name of their agency, and they left it looking like it came from me. So that's what basically broke the straw on the camel's back, and the ISP that was involved, their ISP, finally did something about it and worked with us. And I had to find a lawyer. But usually that's what it is. It comes down to they're clever, but they're just not smart. Now I'm going to show you a couple of different cases involving gaming, just to give you an idea of what we see. We don't get a lot of gaming cases. More of them, especially with like the exes, you know, it's a break-off in a romantic relationship with the stranger-on-stranger cases. Like I said, it's just somebody just goes off because they don't like what's being posted. But we do occasionally see these. So we had, going in February of 2013 actually, a Florida female was on a live streaming gaming site called Twitch, which was the first time I'd ever heard of this. One of the gamers became friendly with her, and they exchanged messages, and, you know, she's like, oh, he's a nice online friend, you know, no big deal. She went off her computer for a few days because she had to go and do something for work. I think she went on a business trip or something. She came back and she said that there were hundreds of messages from this guy, and she told him, look, you're starting to scare me. You need to slow down just a little bit. Well, he didn't like that very much, and because she didn't want to talk to him anymore because he was just being kind of intrusive, and he began contacting her real-life friends, trying to get them to tell her to talk to him. And he got their information from her profile on Twitch and on Facebook and some other places. She finally contacted him and said, I need you to stop contacting me, stop contacting my friends, and if you don't do that, I'm going to contact law enforcement. Well, that didn't stop this guy. He decided to find her home address, her cell phone number, her email address, and her friends' emails, and it just got worse from there. He sent flowers to her home, kind of scaring her. He emailed her that he would kill himself if she didn't unblock him from Twitch and all her social media accounts. Luckily, you know, he was located in British Columbia in Canada, and she didn't think he would travel to Florida to confront her in person, but she was still kind of scared by this person. So we told her, cease all communications with him, but keep everything that he sent her from that point on. So we went through the emails that she received. We traced the emails to his internet service provider and filed complaints on her behalf to his ISP, as well as to Twitch, Google+, Facebook, and Raid Call, and this is a group voice chat program that she used that he was also harassing her on. We had her double-check her privacy settings to make sure he couldn't contact her on any of those sites or any of her profiles. That's probably the biggest thing, is people forget about this. She ended up changing her cell phone number because she called her cell phone provider, and they told her that, you know, because he was kind of anonymously texting her, that they really couldn't block the number because there was no number to block. And what she did was, with the new cell phone, she limited who would get the new number to try and figure out if somebody was leaking it to them. So far, he hasn't contacted her. I mean, this is a perfect example where we send emails to the internet service provider, to the websites, etc., and that usually takes care of it. Another sample case, he's a 31 to 40-year-old male from Texas. He was being harassed on a gaming site called fubar.com. They do other things, but he did the gaming part of it, and this just happened last month. A fellow player was apparently jealous that he had received a lifetime rank and began harassing him on fubar.com. A person also took photos from the victim's Facebook account and posted them on a site called anonib.com and on his own photo bucket account with harassing comments. The victim contacted those sites, and they were pretty good about it. They removed the photos. fubar.com was not cooperating and basically told him to suck it up. I love seeing that email. We made sure the victim told the harasser to stop contacting him. Just a very simple, and that's what we usually tell people, just this very simple, please stop contacting me, and then basically sit on your hands, stop defending yourself, and let us handle it. The harasser, who was also 31 to 40 and located in Michigan, posted more photos on his personal photo bucket account and on IB.com again. We took screenshots sent to us by the victim and filed a complaint to FUBAR.com, noting that the photos being posted on their site were copyrighted by the victim. We added that this was a DMCA copyright infringement. We did the same with PhotoBucket and non-IB.com. Victim made changes to his privacy settings on FUBAR.com and all of his other social media accounts, and he had some apps on his smartphone as well. FUBAR.com finally got back to us, and they did finally remove the photos because the DMCA copyright infringement is a pretty big deal, and most sites and apps will take that seriously. They also told us that they sent a warning to the user to knock it off. PhotoBucket canceled the harasser's account, and non-IB actually blocked his IP address, which was pretty amazing because we don't usually get that. To date, the victim has not been harassed anymore. And this, like I said, this just happened last month, and we kind of nipped it in the bud before it could really get out of hand. And honestly, sometimes simply changing privacy settings ends the harassment. So does not responding to the harasser. I mean, I know people are saying, well, they're saying bad things about me, or they're writing this nasty stuff about me. I have to defend myself. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that attention, knowing that they're getting to you. And so when you send that one message saying, please stop contacting me, and then don't respond after that, they'll probably still send harassing messages and post things, etc. But they're frustrated because you're not paying attention to them, and sometimes it will stop right then and there. If any of you use Snapchat, their whole big thing is that after so many seconds you can set it that any photos that you send will be gone. Well, guess what? They're not. They're just hidden. They are still there. And if you remember recently in the media, if you used a third-party app to use Snapchat, that some hackers broke into it and began posting Snapchat users' photos all over the place. So the photos are still there somewhere. Facebook is taking old, rarely viewed photos, and they're putting them into cold storage. So if you're not as active on Facebook as you used to be, or if you have photos from however many years ago when you joined Facebook that you haven't looked at or posted links to or anything like that, what Facebook is doing now is they're taking those and they're putting them literally into cold storage, so that even if you delete them now, they're probably still out there somewhere. The Library of Congress, Twitter decided that they would donate tweets, public tweets. So if your Twitter account is publicly available, all of your Twitter messages are now in the Library of Congress. And they started collecting an archive starting as far back as 2006, and every year they're continuing to give them any tweets that have been posted on their site. I don't know why they're doing it, but hey, Twitter is a mystery sometimes. So is Facebook. I'm going to show you some examples on blocking and reporting, mainly on Facebook and Twitter, but every app, every site that you go to, if you're doing gaming online, there are ways to block and report people, and that is probably the most important thing to do, is do that right away. You're not being rude. You're protecting yourself. So you need to go to their account, click on Privacy Settings after you click on the down arrow, and then you need to go through each one of the settings, because if you haven't done it yet, what you will find is that everyone on Facebook is the default. You need to change it to friends. You have to go through each one of these settings. The same with tags, the same with apps and websites, the same with going into limiting the audience for past posts. Check your block lists. You need to make changes today. Again, everything is set. Facebook wants everyone on Facebook to see what you are doing, and you should also go through the apps that you use. edit those. There might be some games or some apps that you've used in the past that you haven't used for a long time. Get rid of those because they are still looking at the information that you allowed them to access when you initially decide to access the app on Facebook. So there might be some apps that you don't want looking at your private information. And again, go through all the settings. This one is an important one, how people bring your info to apps that they use. The default is each of these are checked. You need to uncheck all of them, or maybe you don't mind some of your information out there. It's when your friends are using an app, the app can look at their friends list to see what information is available even if you are not using that app. Instant personalization. You need to go into this, and there's a little checkbox at the bottom, and they make it so small it's not even funny. You need to uncheck that, and Facebook will give you that little guilty pop-up saying, are you sure you want to do this? This will enhance your experience. Well, I tell people, uncheck that box, please. Public search. Again, you need to uncheck this because basically what it is somebody goes onto Google or another search engine, you put your name in. If you do not uncheck this box, no matter if they are on Facebook or not on Facebook, they can see a screenshot of your Facebook profile. So you need to uncheck that. Keeps you a little bit more private. You also need to go through all your photo albums and check your settings. Again, the default is public. You need to change that to friends. You don't have to go through all your photos, just the photo albums, which is good. Reporting somebody. Go to their profile, click on the rotor, then report block. And then you can unsubscribe, unfriend, block, and report them. I highly recommend block and report them. Once you do that, that automatically unfriends them. They are no longer able to see your posts on your timeline. They are no longer to see anything that you post anywhere else. And once you report it, Facebook is not as good as I would like them to be to take action on harassment and cyberstalking cases that are reported to them. They are getting better. It's unfortunate that they seem to be more interested in how many people are using their website than in protecting people, but like I said, they are getting better. On Twitter, again, you have to go to that person's Twitter account. This is my dog Phoebe. I'll be talking about her a little bit more. She's the mascot for our Kids and Teen Division. You need to go to their Twitter account, click on the rotor, and then click on block or report. You can also add or remove them from lists, mute them, and once you go to block and report, you can block them and file a report, which is optional. I would highly recommend if they are harassing or posting harassing tweets on your account or replying to your tweets in a harassing manner, file the report as well. And those are just the two I'm going to show you. Like I said, the majority of websites and apps and gaming sites, etc., whatever games that you're playing, they do have the capability of blocking, ignoring, and reporting somebody. And this was an interesting thing that somebody had posted recently. They wrote about it on their personal blog. He's calling it Twitter's most bonsai feature, the block button, because once you block somebody, they can no longer add your Twitter account to its list, have its replies or mentions show in your mentions tab, follow you, see your profile picture on its profile page or in their timeline, or tag you in a photo. So it's very important to take advantage of those settings. Oops. We have other information on our website about instant messaging programs, blogs, and chat rooms, and other websites at haltabuse.org/resources/im.shtml. If there's something that you use that is not on there and you know what the steps are to report or block somebody, please send them to us and we'll be happy to add them. So if someone has been harassed or stalked online and either comes to you for help or you are the person, you have to make sure it really is harassment or stalking. The harassment includes any death threats or threats of physical harm. You need to call the police right away. You need to get something done. You need to save everything no matter how much it upsets you. We have had victims come to us and they go through our steps. They fill out a questionnaire. It looks like a really good case. Then we say, okay, we need you to forward the emails or send us links to where anything is being posted or send us screenshots in. They'll tell us, well, it really upset me, so I got rid of everything. Well, we can't do anything if you don't save it, so you need to save anything that is being posted about you or sent to you. Send that one reply. Please stop contacting me. It can be as simple as that. But do keep anything if they continue. And make sure you do not reply to them after that, no matter how tempted you are. Don't post about the situation on your blog, Facebook, Twitter, etc. It will get back to your harasser. Make sure that you've changed your options and preferences. Make sure you complain to the right people first, their ISP, the website host, the moderator, etc. If you haven't, then send complaints. If your personal photos are involved, it is a DMCA copyright infringement, and many sites take this very seriously, more seriously than harassment or stalking, unfortunately, but sometimes, you know, if you have personal photos that are involved that you did not give permission to be posted, and, you know, 100% of the time that is the case, then you're more likely to get it taken down as a DMCA copyright infringement. Then you can come to us for help. It's free. We keep you anonymous. We do not contact your harasser or stalker. Like I said before, we resolve over 70% of the cases we receive before having involved law enforcement or lawyers. So we will do our best to help you end the situation before it escalates out of control. Do not give your harasser the attention that they crave. That is when things escalate, and we see that happen. By the time people come to us, that is usually what has happened. If you do go to our website at haltabuse.org, this is our main page. You click on Need Help. Big red letters, you can't miss it. We have the steps right here. Are you being threatened physically? Is it harassment? Is it spam? How to respond to it? What we can and can't do to help you. If you've received an email from Lottery, Nigeria, PayPal, eBay, etc., and most people don't even look at that, I guess, we show you how to read headers. And that's something that you would get into if you go to under Is It Harassment? Then get help from WOA, and then how to send DMCA notifications. If it's cyberbullying with somebody under the age of 18, send them to our website at haltabusektd.org. Again, it's on the main page, Need Help. Basically the same steps as on our adult website, I guess you'd call it. And number 8 is Get Help from WOA, and they fill out, it's a shorter questionnaire because kids and teens don't have a big attention span, and they just want help right away. So we try to keep it very simple. We also have Phoebe, who is my dog. She's our official mascot, and we call her the cybercrime dog. And we offer people to ask her anything. Her theme is I sniff out cyberbullies, and she goes with me to middle schools and high schools and sometimes to the colleges as well. So she does go with me when I speak, and she does a thing when I cover cyberbullying, especially for the younger kids. And she does tricks, and when I ask her, what do you say to cyberbully, she'll actually growl. So she's pretty cool. And we offer kids and teens, if you don't feel comfortable filling out a questionnaire, you can ask Phoebe. You can also go to her Facebook page. She has her own profile on Facebook. And she also has her own Twitter account, which I showed you really quick. And we also tell them that if they don't feel comfortable coming to us for help, they can go to schooltipline.com where they can report stalking or cyberbullying or bullying anonymously to their school. The whole thing about the internet is what you post online is there forever. Some social media, such as Google, Facebook, and Twitter, track and often log your activity. They keep it. Users who remove posts or delete tweets might assume their messages are no longer retrievable, but it's not the case. This has been proven in law enforcement cases where they've gone to Facebook and Twitter, and other sites, and they've gotten old so-called deleted posts and tweets. Facebook maintains all user information even after you shut down your page or your profile. Google monitors and captures user behavior, including searches and email activity. This week came out in the media recently. There were arrests of people that had child pornography on their Google account, which I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why they would do the whole thing in the first place, but Google caught it and reported them to law enforcement. So social media and Google and other sites are watching what you're doing, not just the NSA. There is no way to stop someone from retrieving old posts and photos. If you posted it and deleted it, it's more than likely still out there somewhere. So there is no way to stop somebody from using that to troll you, to bully you, to harass you, to stalk you. But if you follow some of the advice that I've given, you can kind of try and mute it to the point or resolve it before it does escalate out of control. Technology won't hide your sex. This has been in the media a lot. Yik Yak is a big app that college students are using, and they're sending sext photos, which if you don't know what sexting is, it's sending a nude or semi-nude photo of yourself to someone else. It's so easy if you have a smartphone where you can do a quick screenshot before it supposedly disappears. It's one of those things where when I go and I speak to students, even when I speak to adults, I say, if you really want to show somebody your assets, take them into a room, close the door, show it to them, and then just go your own way. Or you could do this, get yourself a Polaroid, and then you don't have to worry about it being out there online anywhere, and you can keep it in a little box under your bed. Unfortunately, there are other ways that they can get you, even if they're already, harassing you on websites, gaming, on social media apps, anywhere else. There are other ways that they can get you. White pages, search engines. This is public information. You can go to each one of those white pages search engines and have your listing removed, but next year when the new white pages come out, your information is going to be back up there. I highly recommend getting an unlisted number or cancel your landline and use your cell phone if possible. I also highly advise getting a free voicemail fax number. I use one called j2.com, and the reason it's free is it's not in the area code in the state you live. You can pay a little bit extra per month if you want it in your area code. I have been using my free voicemail fax number since 2000. I'm trying to think of how far back. But I use that on my business cards. I use it on my websites. I use it anywhere that I don't want people to know my personal cell phone number. I give that out to people who I know my cell phone number I give out. I've also recommended to some people, especially to some victims, that if they do have to change their cell phone number because of their stalker, harasser, troll, whatever you want to call it, is to keep their new cell phone number just for family and friends that they really know, and then get a burner cell phone and use that online if you really need to. And then that way you'll know how your troll is getting your information. But I would highly recommend getting that free voicemail fax number. All the voicemails and any faxes go to your email inbox, and then you can go from there. Email search engines, there are a lot of those around. Somebody can type in your name into an email search engine and see if you have an email address that's publicly available. They can Google you. This is one thing that I highly recommend to people to do, is Google yourself. Basically, it's ego surfing. And what you do is go into a search engine and type in your name and see what's out there. There's also something called the Wayback Machine at archive.org. Not many people know about this. Archive.org has taken websites that are no longer online and archived them. So if you participated on a website years ago and it disappeared from the internet, or so you thought, you can go to archive.org and see if it is still out there. And there might be information about you still out there on those defunct websites. Assessor property records. Many counties, many cities are posting their property records of residents online on the City Hall websites. My city does it, and when I first moved to where I am now, because of the work I do, I found out about it, and sure enough, when I typed in my name, not only did the information about my house show up, it showed an actual recent photo of my house. It had a floor plan of my house. It showed all the information, like how many rooms, how big the property was, who owned it before me, when I bought it, how much I paid for it. All of this information, which is not only great for stalkers and trolls, but it's great for criminals as well. And I went to town hall and I said, I need to have my information taken off of this. And they did it. But you have to ask to have your information taken off. That's the whole thing is, until you ask for it to be taken off, it's going to be up there. It's not, it should be the other way around, where the assessor property records, they should send you a notice out saying, we would like to post this on our website, is that okay? But no, you have to go and you have to actually do it yourself. Google satellite maps. If you haven't done it, try and do it. Type in your address, see the lovely photo of your house, your workplace, everything like that. If you're lucky, you might even see yourself waving out in front of your house. www.docusearch.com/free.html. They have over 36,000 listings and growing of free searches that can be done. So there are a lot of ways that people can find information if they're really obsessed with you, which most cyber stalkers and trolls are. Once they get a hold of you, they want to find out everything they can about you and post everything about you. You really need to be aware of these other ways. So I'm going to do some safety tips. Try and use a gender-neutral username, email address, screen name, whatever. This way it makes it harder for them to guess who you are. I have so many people that use their real name for their email address, their real name for their screen name. It's just, you try and keep it, like mine is A Writer or Net Crimes, or mine is Whoa for, haltabuse.org. That way they have less of a chance of guessing who you are. I do highly recommend using free email accounts, especially Gmail or Yahoo, and try and use that email account pretty much anywhere you can online. There are some sites where you have to use a so-called real email address from your internet service provider, but try and use a free one everywhere else that you can. Put as little information as possible in profiles. I know that a lot of times when people open up a new account somewhere, they tend to put in all the information that is asked for as you go through the steps to open up the account. Well, come to find out, you really don't need all that information. And what I usually do whenever I open up a new account, I put in as little information as possible and click submit or register or whatever it is to get the account. And then I find out from them exactly what they need from me to open up that account. Make sure, again, going through your options, your preferences, your privacy settings. Ego serve, put your name in a search engine. It's better to put it in quotes. Like if you put just Jayne Hitchcock into a search engine, it's going to give you all the Jaynes, all the Hitchcocks, and all the Jayne Hitchcocks. But if you put your name in quotation marks, it refines the search so it will only find results that have me in it. Don't get involved in online arguments with people. Honestly, that's where we see a lot of the cases that we get. Try to bite your tongue, sit on your hands, and try not to get involved in online arguments. We have a lot more safety tips and help available on our website at haltabuse.org, the same on the Kids and Teen Division. We have great resources for parents, on the Kids and Teen Division site. And, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My email address is whoa@haltabuse.org. And I'm going to give it back to Kate, Tristan, whoever's there.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much, Jayne. That was just incredibly informative. I admit that even when you were going through some of that, I was adjusting some of my settings on Facebook. I will probably do some more adjusting on some of my other accounts as well. I thought that I had all the security stuff and privacy set the way I wanted to, but I obviously did not. So, so yes, thank you so much. I wonder If
We
there's
do.
any questions.
We do have a couple of questions.
See one, yeah, I did see the one about the DMC copyright. It's the DMC copyright infringement is only photos of you that you own. You have to have, they have to be your property to be considered a copyright infringement, or the person who took the photo can file it on your behalf if, obviously if they're not the harasser or the troll. But, a lot of people, what we have is that they steal the photos from your personal Facebook account, which are usually photos that you took or someone took of you, and you can file a copyright infringement basically saying, I did not give permission for this photo to be used. And like I did say, they are really, really good about removing those, because that could become a real big legal issue for those sites or the apps or wherever it is. Let me see. Okay, that's the question. Voter registration info. I would talk, this would be another one, depending on where you live. Like I live in a very small town, you would have to go to City Hall or wherever the voter registration is and ask them how they use the registration info. Is it posted on a website? If it is, can you get your information removed? This is again one of those things where they don't ask you if they can put it up there. It's more that they put it up there and then you have to ask to have it removed. And that is the case with everything, like I was saying about the property assessor records. LinkedIn profile. Just what you would want a potential employer or a colleague to see up there is probably the best. I keep mine fairly brief and just cite, my cybercrime expertise and working Halt Online Abuse, and then information about the books that I have published. And I try and keep it very, very simple, so that if someone is really interested in me, then they can message me in LinkedIn and get more information. I would recommend not posting your resume, especially if your resume has your home address or phone number or an email address. Let them contact you through LinkedIn so that you can send it privately to them. You don't want it up there for everyone to see. Okay. Do you think there is any reconciliation between harassers and victims? No. Unfortunately, that doesn't really happen. I have not seen it happen yet, and I've been doing this for a long time. Obviously, there have been cases that I've worked on that have been over for years, and my latest book is called True Crime Online, and there was a story I did. If any of you watch Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel, Jason Hawes, he's the bald guy. If you see the show, he's one of the co-hosts, I guess you could say, of it. And they go do ghost hunting. And he was stalked online by this real crazy guy. And I wrote about it in my book. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had this woman email me saying that she was the harasser's sister. And at first I thought maybe it was him trying to, get to me. It turned out it was really her. And she said that her whole family was so embarrassed in that he did jail time, and then he had an ankle bracelet, one of those GPS monitoring things, for I believe it was 5 years, and that was over a couple of years ago that he finally had that taken off. Well, I guess he moved back in with his parents, and he's just been terrorizing his mother and the police in town. I guess he's well known by the police, and so no. The answer to that is no. Harassers and victims don't usually reconcile. Another question, what would you recommend in a situation where harassers have contacted your previous and potential employers? I would honestly contact them yourself and say, look, I'm having some trouble with this person who is harassing me and is trying to cause a lot of trouble, especially with your current employer or a potential one. You need to be upfront about it and say, I'm handling it, but I want to make you aware of it, that they're trying to sabotage any employment capabilities that I may have. And being upfront about it will put you in a better light than not saying anything and having that person contact you and costing you a potential job. Okay, I guess, does anyone have any more questions?
It looks like we're probably done at this point.
Okay, hold on. I think I see one more here.
Okay.
Let me go back up here. Hold on. Oh, sounds like an expert on what the victim can do, but do you have any opinions to offer about the burden being put on the victims? Oh God, I could probably write a book about what I would love websites to do. I would, number one, love them to take stalking and harassment case like reports. When you report somebody, I would like them to take that a lot more seriously and act faster, because a lot of the time we have victims that come to us and they have complained to Facebook and Twitter, you know, and wherever, and complained. So they've had their friends, they've had their family complain, and nothing's been done, and the situation is escalating, and then we get involved, and for whatever reason, those websites will take a complaint from us more seriously, where it should be that they should be taking the victim seriously in the first place. They shouldn't be thinking, well, you know, it'll be okay, just ignore the person. And especially when I do my law enforcement presentation, I always say, you know, I love this when they tell, you know, the online victim, well, just stay out of that chat room or stay off of that website, or don't play that game, and then they won't bother you anymore. And I say, well, do you tell an actual physical stalking victim to stay in the house? Because nothing will happen to them if they leave the house, right? Well, you can't do that. You know, you and I and everyone else have every right to be online, enjoying ourselves or trying to enjoy ourselves, doing research if you're a student, doing research if you're working on a company project, communicating with people, keeping in touch with friends and family around the world, meeting new people. Everyone has the right to that, and to tell the victim that they need to ignore it is just wrong. And that is the one thing I would love for websites to take victims more seriously, quite honestly. And I think they really need to do something about that. If someone threatens you, this is another question, if someone threatens you to hack you, would that be considered harassment? It depends on the situation. If they've been harassing you up until that point, and then they come back and say, okay, I'm gonna hack your accounts, then yes, that would be considered harassment. If they just come out of the blue and say, I'm going to hack you, it would really depend on what's going on. That would be something that I would have to take a hard look at, because they could be kidding around. They could be seeing what kind of response you give. If somebody wrote that to me, I probably would ignore them and see if they threaten to do it again, because if they continue to threaten to do that, then yes, then it would be considered harassment. And I don't see anybody have any more questions. You type really fast.
Well, great. Well, I'm sure that if people have additional questions, they've got your contact information
Yes.
there, and they can follow up with you directly. And once again, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing this great information with us.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for having me, and I hope it helped.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.